my mom is doing something right now, which means me and her are going to go first. And then my mom can talk about all of her books. So, you go first.
I only read 5 books.
But listen to one. So, what's the first one?
Read Felicity.
Meet Felicity. It's an American Girl book, and that's the first one of the Felicity series. When I was little, I loved the Felicity series. She was my favorite, as well as Kit. Kit and Felicity were my all-time favorite.
I haven't read Kit, but she's really cute.
Yeah.
And then I read Eliza.
Okay, go. Do that one. This is another American Girl. This is the second book. Third book of
Mary Grace.
Mary Grace series.
Orphans.
And so this is when she goes to like an orphanage and...
There's a yellow fever. I think it was...
the yellow fever?
Yeah.
Scary. That was really bad.
Ada Lace.
On the case. Ada Lace on the case.
So it's a kind of hard to...
But she read Ada Lace. She doesn't remember very much about books.
Yeah,
she just
I
reads
know
them.
this one because I read it 2 times. So
Spooky House.
Billy B. Mystery Spooky House. It's like she is series, but I don't have number 2 or 3.
Here, you don't have number 2. Come here.
Yeah, I don't have number 2. There, I don't have number 2. And so this is about a girl who wants to be like a spy-ish. And she lives on a street where she thinks a witch lives here because it's like an old broken down house. And then
The Wayne Sassafras number 3. I thought I said 5. Number 3.
So for this month in our homeschool, we finished 2 books. We did The Victory Garden by somebody whose name I cannot say.
Lee Kochendurfer. I said it earlier.
Kochendurfer.
Kochendurfer. I think.
Depends on what nationality it is.
Yeah. I said it earlier and it was correct.
This is the story of a young girl whose brother is a bomb pilot during World War II. And her and her father basically grow gardens, and they kind of have this tomato contest with the neighbor next door. Well, the neighbor ends up hurting himself, and so this garden is going to go to waste, basically. So she talks the school kids in her classroom to basically take over this garden, sell the produce, and then buy war stamps.
War bonds.
War stamps or war bonds, because I think it's war stamps that build into a war bond with the money. So war stamps were a cheaper way to do a war bond, and then a war bond was, of course, a lot more money. And through that, you kind of get to know a little bit more about her and about this young boy that everybody does not like and what his real story is about. I really enjoyed this book. All the kids really enjoyed it, and we ended up giving it 5 stars. Or 4.5. I think we ended up like 4.5.
Yeah.
The other one we read was Corrie ten Boom, World War II Heroine. This is part of the Heroes of the Faith series, so this is an updated cover for those of my generation that grew up with the white background and then a face on the cover. So it's the same series, but just an updated cover. But the problem was I saw Corrie ten Boom, I saw the red, I saw even the Nazi flag, and I thought this was a hiding place. But it is not. And for those that kind of want a, like you start reading it out loud, it's Heroes of the Faith, therefore, it does have some older kid, it has one older kid scene topics where she's at school and this boy's like, let's play a game. She doesn't like the game. I think many of you would understand where I'm going with this, but it's kept clean for this content. So there is that in here, and I honestly, it was a half a page and I just skipped over it. So she went to school, boy wasn't nice, we went on. You can use at your discretion what you want to share and what not. But other than that, I thought it was really good. My boys were actually asking to read another chapter, and I caught my eldest son actually reading ahead. So it was kind of annoying when I would sit down to read. He's like, oh yeah, and then this. I'm like, Or one thing I want to mention in this video is that I recently learned that Christian Audio has like its own Audible type of thing. So Christian Audible has its own platform, that's the word I'm looking for, where you can get audiobooks. And they have one for The Hiding Place that is free. I don't know if it's a month-long deal or whatnot, but periodically they offer free books. So that would be another way to get audiobooks if you didn't want to buy the Audible subscription. So there's that, and then these are the two that we finished in our read aloud section for homeschool. Go ahead.
I don't know. Okay.
I'm gonna pull
I read the second, third, fourth, and fifth book of the Land of Stories. I've already read the first one twice, so I pretty much know that one a lot. And the last one I had on audio, but I had to wait on hold for 2 weeks. So that was kind of sad that I couldn't read the last one because the fifth one kind of left on a cliffhanger in a way. So you wanted to read the last book, but I didn't have it on audio, and the narrator is really good and funny. So anyway, I read The Enchantress Returns. This is the story of Alex and Connor, who are twins whose father has died, and the mother now has a new boyfriend who's a doctor. Well, I guess both parents are both doctors. But
he's cute.
Yeah, but you should see another picture of him in there. He's like an elf.
He does look like an elf there.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and this one he's kind of cute. You said he was cute. Okay.
He is cute. I can say that a kid is cute or a man is handsome.
Okay.
Not drooling. Do you see any drool? I see no drool.
Anyway, so their mother suddenly disappears on the night that the boyfriend was going to propose, and they figure out that she has been kidnapped into the other world, as I call it. It's like the fairy tale world. And so Alex and Connor are not allowed to go into that world because it's dangerous because of this enchantress who will harm anyone who comes near the mother, I guess. So Alex and Connor secretly go into the other world by a secret portal. And then what I really liked about this part, there was one specific part in here that I really enjoyed the most, was when the enchantress was about ready to kill the one sister, and she's like, I forgive you. I forgive you for all the wrong you've done in this fairy tale world. I forgive you for harming and killing all these people, for having such a cold heart and everything. And saying I forgive you, the enchantress dies when Alex said, I forgive you. And this one does leave on a cliffhanger, so I had to quickly start the third one because
Which means we can't talk about the rest of them because cliffhangers.
The third one is when people are starting to get suspicious why Alex suddenly disappeared, because she's now not in school anymore, and so Connor is making up this thing that she went to, I think it was Connecticut, to study school with her grandmother because Alex is like the smartest kid in the world. Okay, not really. She's 13 and she's taking classes in college. Anyway, this one they find out that there is an army going to attack the entire fairy tale world. The land of... this is the fourth book. They figure out that their uncle is also trying to take over the fairy tale world. And he is known as the Masked Man because he has a mask over his face. Anyway, so he's trying to collect all these bad characters from the different fairy tales like Peter Pan, Alice in Wonderland, Wizard of Oz. He's trying to collect all these the bad characters from these different ones to start his own army to try and take over the fairy tale world. While he's doing that, Alex and Connor are trying to find or to gather this group of all the good people from all these different fairy tale stories, and it's kind of it's like them trying to have their own army, but with an evil side and a good side, and them just fighting over to get the most people, so then the masked man doesn't take over the fairy tale world, if that made any sense. So
Very nice and concise. What were your thoughts on that?
I think the fourth and fifth one were not as enjoyable. The second one was definitely my favorite, but the fourth and fifth one were definitely not my favorite. I felt like they were more slow moving and less they're more adventurous, but less adventurous in a way.
They moved more, but they had less adventure.
Yeah, that kind of thing. The masked man is still alive, and they're still trying to figure out how to destroy him. And so Connor has written these different stories, so there's Red Riding Hood, but he rewrites it into a different story of Red Riding Hood, so instead she's a pirate, that kind of thing. Anyway.
That sounds like fun.
Yeah. And the thing is, in the Land of Stories, Red Riding Hood is this girl who has this humongous wardrobe of clothing. She can't leave without, like, a chest of shoes, another chest of a cloak or something. So she's kind of a queen of clothing type girl in Land of Stories. Anyway, so this one, Alex and Connor are trying to gather all of Connor's characters that he wrote to try again to kill the masked man or capture him so he won't take over the world. So it's them going to all of Connor's different fairy tale stories that he wrote for school, and them trying to
save the world for them.
Yeah. So those were all the Land of Story books that I read.
And the two were your least favorites.
Yeah, the last two were my least favorite. I read the first 8 books of Christy Miller. I have the first collection, or volume 1. They didn't have the rest, so I had to grab the regular books. This story is about a girl named Christy who goes to California to visit her really, really rich aunt and uncle. And while she's there, her aunt decides to give Christy a whole new makeover.
Christy Miller is a young adult Christian fiction series written by Robin Jones Gunn, and it just kind of tells the teenage, young, mature life of this young girl and her adventures from California all the way home, and relationship problems and drama problems.
Yeah. And the second one, her entire family moves to California. She goes to a new school. She meets this other guy who likes her, and she likes him, and then they start to date, and Christy, in the third book, she figures out, third or fourth book? The third book, I think no, it's the fourth book. But, so she can't date until she's 16, so she's 15 in the third book. So, it's really confusing, but...
Why do you like or dislike?
I don't like her attitude. If she doesn't get her way, she'll sulk about it and be like, why does God let this happen, and that kind of way. And, yeah, she sulks about it a lot if she, doesn't get her own way kind of thing. I don't like that about it, but... Anyway, each of the books, each different one is kind of like the So the first one is when she's 14. The second one's when she's 15. The third one when she's 16. And then the rest are when she's 16. And it's kind of like her figuring out life as she's growing older type thing. So, yeah. We're already going on a lot, so... they're really good. I wouldn't give them a full-on 5 stars. More like 4 stars. But, yeah. Okay. The next one I read was Alex and Eliza. This is the story of when Alex and Eliza first meet. Or Eliza Schuyler and Alexander Hamilton first meet at the ball. And it's kind of them, when they first met until they get married.
There is a chapter in here that we did not allow. There is another man that was interested in Elizabeth Schuyler, and he takes advantage of Schuyler. He takes advantage of them being alone in a room, and I just had her skip that whole chapter.
Yeah. And then in the ending.
And then at the end, they are married, and it's her going into that room, and again, just skip the rest. So this is YA.
Yeah. So I did really enjoy this. I give this one 5 stars. I did enjoy it. It was kind of slow moving in like the first week that it took me. And then towards the middle part, it started getting more and more interesting and better, I guess you could say.
I think I had the same.
Yeah. I did enjoy that series. I think it would be one that I would reread in the future, maybe. Maybe. And the next one I read is When You Reach Me, and this is a really, really confusing book. Like, really confusing. This girl figures out, or her mom is about ready to do this, like, competition type thing, and so the one girl, Miranda, and the mom's boyfriend are trying to help her win this competition. But while that's happening, she meets this boy who beat up her best friend, and she figures out that he likes time travel, and so he tries to explain it to Miranda, but she still can't figure it out. And then one day, and throughout this story, there's this guy named the Laughing Man, who he's kind of, I guess he's like homeless.
Hobo.
Yeah, he's like a hobo.
No, he's homeless, not a hobo.
No, I was like, he's homeless. He will laugh at random things. Anyway, so one day, Sal, her best friend, or Miranda's best friend, is about ready to get in a car crash, but this one man, the Laughing Man, saves his life by jumping in front of the truck and kind of sacrifices his life for Sal.
No plot.
Throughout the story, she gets 3 notes from this mysterious man.
Are you spoiling it?
Maybe. Anyway, so she's trying to figure out who's
sending her
these
notes. What do they mean?
Yeah.
And why she's involved in it all.
Yeah. So, I think I give this like 3 stars.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. She didn't. And if you have not read Wrinkle in Time, I don't think you'll get a lot of this.
I didn't enjoy Wrinkle in Time at all.
So, I liked it. Well, but let me have that because we probably won't keep that.
Is it summer now?
Okay. The next book I read was Fever 1793. And this follows the story of a girl named Maddie who lives with her mother at this coffee shop, as well as her grandfather, and it's kind of, she helps with making the shop. Then the one girl who helps around the shop, or the coffee shop as well, she gets the fever. She gets a fever.
It's the yellow pandemic of 1793, just after.
And so when she gets that, the mother then gets it, and it's kind of like,
how do we survive when everybody around me is dying?
Yeah. And
what it was like during that pandemic for
it was
Maddie.
terrible. It was terrible. And I really enjoyed this one. I think I give it like 4.5 stars. I did enjoy this one, and I might reread it in the future because it's that good.
She will reread it. She bought
Yeah.
her own copy because she didn't like my hardback.
I don't like hardback books, so I grabbed a paperback because I was like, paperback, fine. Okay.
I read 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. 13 books this month. Which is kind of mind-boggling to me because it did not feel like I read many at all.
Yeah.
That does not include these ones. I did not include that because they weren't started and finished this month. But I did do a video on the library book I read, which was Pride and Premeditation. You can check that out below. I did a separate video for Hope Between the Pages by Pepper Basham, and then again you can check that down below. And then I did a blog post for this book that I received in exchange for my free and honest review, and that was Providence by Jennifer Saenz. And again, I will leave that review down below. I thought it was a very good book, especially if you have anybody near you that suffers from mental health issues. I think that this was a beautiful book, kind of describing some of the really difficult moments that families go through when somebody has mental health issues. So in this particular case, it is about the suicide of her husband and just how Alright, we're going to try that again with new battery. So, I actually did not enjoy this as much as I thought. Again, first person perspective. And Jessica was kind of dumb. There was a lot of things she was forgetting all the time, which does not, if you've watched any of the Murder, She Wrote TV series, that just doesn't fit Jessica. She has one of those characteristics, almost like Columbo. We love the old crime TV series. But she comes across as maybe not being all there, but she is. And if it's told from a first person perspective, then all of her like smart wiles should have been in here. But she was forgetting a lot. There was just I don't know, it was there, and the mystery of the whole book just felt like it was drawn out, and I just really enjoyed the TV series a lot more. Speaking of enjoying TV series a lot more, the last 3 or 4 Sundays, it's my work day, I have been doing Hercule Poirot, whether it's on Hoopla or Libby. I think most of these are Hoopla. So I've been listening to all the Hercule Poirot because I'm trying to read them in order because I have the one hardback copy, Black Coffee, that I wanted to get to, but I wanted to read all of them in order. Don't necessarily have to, but I wanted to. So I did The Murder of Roger Ackroyd, which I gave 5 stars. I really enjoyed that one. I did The Big Four, which felt so disconnected. And I kind of figured out what was going on. There really isn't a whole lot of mystery there. And it just, again, it felt like there was just a whole lot put into the story that didn't necessarily need to be there, but it was just there to bulk up the story. So I gave that 3 stars, and then I learned that it was Agatha Christie taking different stories that she had already done and then meshed it into one big story. So I'm wondering if that's part of it. And then The Mystery of the Blue Train, which I just recently finished, and that one also, I gave it 3 stars. Like, I liked it, but to be honest, The Big Four and The Mystery of the Blue Train, I much preferred the David Suchet adaptation on television. Enjoyed that one so much more watching those. And because I did know the whole whodunit plot of The Mystery of the Blue Train, I kept kind of looking for the clues that would have been scattered throughout. And the one thing about that book that I just was like, what is going on here, is that Poirot doesn't seem to be really involved in that mystery until like a certain point. And so a lot of it just, again, was what is going on here and how does this character play a part in what is happening here. And so, again, it was just one of those things that I just preferred seeing the David Suchet television series so much. I really enjoy those, and we just have been starting up watching one or two every
Sunday.
Yeah, that's one of the days. And then for the Read Your Bookshelves Challenge, which one was yours?
Emma, I did not get that one finished, though.
Emma
Sadly.
by Jane Austen.
Yes.
For May, mine is a book that you should have read in high school. I think that's what it is. And mine is Roll of Thunder, Hear My Cry by Mildred Taylor. And I had the audiobook that Libby, I think it was Libby had it. And it was read by some of you will get this, and some of you I know won't. But it was read by the gal that played Acme General in Carmen Sandiego. The lady at the end, when you finally win and all of that, it was her. Or when she's giving out clues, or when you have a message from the Acme General, it was read by her. And so that was a really big blast from the past, because she would say something, and I found it hysterical. I give this one 4 stars, which I feel is really low for a lot of people that love this book. To be honest, I really did not like our main character at all. She's just sassy, she's disrespectful, and I don't know, I didn't really like her, which I think her name is Cassie too. Yeah, it's Cassie. A lot of Cassandras in this month's reading. I didn't like her. I wanted more perspective.
You can do it.
Thank you. I wanted more of the perspective of the older boy, rather than her. And then, I don't know. It was there. And I know that this was a really hard time for Deep South. Are they in Alabama? I think it's Alabama. I don't quite remember. I just know it's in the South. Nope, Mississippi. They're in Mississippi. So, I know it was a really hard time and a really rough time. And then some of the things that they were talking about, I hadn't known of. And so that was kind of educational for me. But insofar as taking out what this means like for history and taking apart the characters and the story plot line and all of that, I just didn't like our main character. So, and I find that to be the case with a lot of Newbery Medal winner books. I just don't like the main characters. It's not that I expect perfect characters. So, for example, in Words on Fire, you have a main character that's just like, go with the flow, don't make any ripples, and let's whatever it takes to, but she matures and she grows through it. Whereas Cassie, she's still at the end just the same kind of person. Now, it's only been a year, and it's been a really rough year, and all of that, but even this horrific moment where I am just like, yeah, Cassie, I'm with you, girl, when the white family, somebody Jean, I think the name is, basically is like, you gotta apologize after Cassie's the one that's been like mistreated and everything. But so they go to, let me try this all again. They go to town, and they're going to the store, and basically the whites that come in, they get precedence. And so Cassie's getting frustrated that their order isn't getting completed. So she throws a fit, or it's like, hey, I think you've forgotten us. And the brother's like, you need to hush up. And I know what can happen. I'm like, Cassie, be quiet. And she's done. She's like, we've been waiting here. We're your customers. You need to pay attention to us. And I get it and I understand it. But it didn't just stop there. So they're kicked out and she's upset with her brother. And then this girl comes in and she's a nasty girl. She's nasty. And she expects Cassie to apologize after Cassie's like, I'm not getting off the sidewalk for you. Now, my point is that Cassie she's 10 going on 11. And I don't know what the backstory is, but I would have thought, I don't know if the author just wanted to use this to kind of show, and for me, I almost think that her little brother, if they had mixed these two scenarios, it might have worked better. But for the book, I was like, they're throwing so much at Cassie all at once to explain all of the racial prejudice this is going. So she had to apologize. She won't apologize. Grandma steps in and she's still like, why am I having to do this? And from what I have from the previous chapters of the book, this doesn't make sense. Like, you would have followed through, you would have obeyed, you would have been afraid of the consequences of not all this, but why all of a sudden are you not? So it was just one of those things that, again, was a disconnect for me. I understand why the author was trying to put these in, was to show us, but again, it was just, I think, too much on one day. So I just have my personal opinions on that, and I know it doesn't jive with everybody's. And again, at the end, she just wasn't a character I liked. What was the word? Sorry, I keep forgetting. Anyway, so it was a 4-star read just so that I feel like I have done something that I needed to do, which was read this book that everybody talks about and loves about. And I would like to read the rest of the stories. I think Mildred Taylor, when she's talking about in her opening of the book, just how her dad was a master storyteller and how all these stories came together that were told around, and you kind of get that in the books of this master story, of these stories that were being told to the families and being passed on to the families. I thought that was really fascinating, and it makes me want to read the rest of the stories in this saga, I think. There's like 4 books about this family and how it all works. I'm really interested in reading the rest. So there's that. And then finally, the other book that I've read. Oh, I have been, let me say this. There's going to be 5 books here that I'm currently finishing up that will not be in this video because it will be part of the wrap up for like the try chapter or my first impressions of the books that we got from the book box. So that'll be coming later. But the last book that I read was Where the Lost Wander by Amy Harmon. This is part of the historical book club that Angie from the Science Mama puts on. And so I think I'm the only one in the group that didn't love this as much as everybody else. The main character is, she's not, again, a character that I particularly like. I loved our main hero. I'm not sure what his name is. It's John, but I'm not, like, what a main hero, what is another word? Protagonist is kind of the main characters, but our main male protagonist, I guess. But I didn't like Naomi. She's very outgoing, very outspoken. She's almost too much. That's, I think, the thing. For me, she wore me out. And John is a very quiet, kind of, I'm trying to think. He reminds me so much of my husband. Maybe that's why I love this character. But he reminds me so much of my husband. He's half a Native American, half white. His mother kind of left him, and then he was brought up by his stepmom, who's a sweetheart, and just some of the things that he deals with. And then Naomi is a recent widowed woman, and I really liked the story of or the aspect of the fact that she is still kind of grieving her husband, even so it wasn't like a terrible marriage and good riddance kind of thing. So I did appreciate that. Her father-in-law is something else. And the whole story kind of opens up with what to expect. So it opens up with her kind of going across the desert with her baby brother, or this baby, and a whole massacre has happened on these Oregon Trail bound wagons. And then you start at the beginning and how it gets to there. So you know what's coming. And it's just this climax. Now, to be honest, for the rest of it, it was really enjoyable. The kind of history with the Oregon Trail and a lot of the things that they went through and dealt with. And a lot of that was interesting to me, but it wasn't new information. I was really into the Oregon Trail. So, again, a lot of it, wasn't... Again. But a lot of it just wasn't new information for me. But it was presented in a very enjoyable way, especially when we had John Lowry's point of view. So I think I gave this like 3.5, 4 stars. There is some adult scenes that I was kind of skimming through. She's very forward, and there is some language more towards the end. But other than that, it was a pretty clean read. It does get a little gruesome towards the end with the massacre and kind of what follows. So that being said, it's not... I thought Amy Harmon was a Christian writer, but there is no way that I could label this a Christian fiction book. So, again, I think it was 3.5, 4 stars. I know I gave it a lot lower than many people. They absolutely loved it. Again, Naomi was a lot much, and so I found myself kind of just skimming a lot of her parts because I was done. So I think that's kind of my final opinion on that. So we read our books. We read our books. We have a small stack of books to kind of pass on, so that's kind of nice to read, review, and then pass on. I have about 5 books that are going out this month.
I don't know. I guess the one you reached me was one that
Yeah.
were like.
Because if you won't read it again, I probably will just pick this up at the library if I want to read it again.
Yeah.
And then I'll probably be passing on these 2 books.
I don't have any because most of the ones that I read were really good, and a lot of the Christy Miller, all those were the library, so.
Mm-hmm. So this is a very long video that I have to edit. So, thank you so much. Again, we just ask that you stay tuned, or I ask that you stay tuned for that wrap-up of first impressions of the books that I got from Christian Book Distributors with their surprise box. And hope you enjoyed our review on these books. But until next time, have another cup of coffee.
Or tea.
And read another chapter.